What up? It's your boy Bishop the Overseer, and I know I said the last episode, the 3.1 episode, would be the final, the Life, Mike, and Beyond. But when I played the tape back, I said it's a couple of points that I didn't hit on that I wanted to hit on as it related to publishing rights versus master rights, and going through that publishing rights analysis from the performance, mechanical, and sync rights perspective, as well as what are master rights, and just kind of adding some additional context to that. So this is the Life, Mike, and Beyond Arizona edition. I know it still says live from Hawaii. We were shooting in Hawaii, but I'm back home in my home state of Arizona. Give you all my perspective here. Having a little breakfast here at 18 degrees, and this is my perspective. Looking at some of the mountain view from outside here on the patio. But just to add some additional context to where I left off at in episode 3.1, basically. In episode 3.1, I touched on the fact that went through the physical pressing of product, cassettes and CDs, and the journey to get into physical distribution. And I touched briefly on the digital distribution. So when I'll start with master rights. When you get a digital distributor, you're primarily given some licensing right to your master rights, if you will, to that particular distributor. And in that process, you're giving them, it's not a lifetime, license. It's as long as you need it to be until you decide to revoke the license. And you give them the right, basically, to distribute your master recordings to all the different digital distributors, in a sense, whether it be iTunes, Napster, Deezer, Spotify, YouTube, whatever the retailer may be, SoundCloud, and that handles that aspect of that particular right. But there's more rights that you need to acknowledge and know that you need to be capitalizing on, in addition to your master use rights. So in that process of looking for a digital distributor, when I was going from physical distribution to digital distribution, it not only was the Orchard at the time trying to solicit me as a label, there were other digital distributors that I was being solicited by, and that I was soliciting, that I was going after, if you will. So I think the primary digital distributor that I signed on with was the Orchard. It took a while, from my perspective, because although they wanted me to come on board, I was not necessarily hesitant, but if you rewind back to like 2005, 2006, digital distribution wasn't, the thing at that time. People were still buying CDs and stuff, so it was more about, getting rid of my physical product at that time. So it was in part a delay on my side with, not taking digital serious at that time, and not making it necessarily a priority at that time, for distribution purposes. But once we were able to, get that first project, that commitment to a positive change, national ad campaign, volume 1, I believe, was the first digital release I ever released commercially, and that was February 21st, 2006. Once we got that project going, we've kind of been a digital label since that point forward. When you're looking for, I guess, a digital distributor, you have to kind of pick your poison. And not to say that they're poisonous, but some may charge more than others as to their percentage of what they're charging you off of what you make. Some will do, 30, 70 deals. Some will do 15, 85 deals. Some will do 90, 10 deals. Some will do 50, 50 deals. So you really have to kind of manage as to what you expect, what's your expectations of earnings versus what that person is contributing to the partnership for their percentage. It's not just as simple as taking a percentage and I'll get you in retailers. In my view, they should be offering a few more things that indie artists or indie label would need, and not necessarily always, capital up front, because that's not the most important factor. I think the most important factor for support for indie artists, indie labels, is radio support. Getting it to the DJs, getting it to record pools, getting it to the colleges, so you can get the airplay. Not necessarily always commercial radio play. You can just get non-commercial radio play, whether it's digital or traditional radio. So radio support in this day and age assists us with your social network promotion, and from an aspect of not only getting the ads out for when a particular release is out, but to measure the metrics of your followers and fans, who they are, where they are, how many times they're streaming your items, how many times they're downloading your items, and how to market product back to them, whether it be merch, whether it be concert tickets, whether it be up and coming releases, anything you got going on. You should be able to know who that consumer is, or at least have an idea of the geographical area in which that consumer is, for the purposes of continuing to market and advertise products and services that you have to offer in addition to your music. So that, and if they're helping you with some portion of rights administration, sometimes you may need assistance with getting your performance rights collected. And your performance rights organizations are going to collect it on your behalf, but it's always good to have a couple of people looking out for in that aspect to get you that good look, if you will, get you that additional support that you would need, that extra eye. It's sort of like having an attorney watching an attorney, if that makes any sense. So although the performance rights agencies are mutually exclusive in collecting the performance rights royalties, it doesn't hurt to have your distributor do it as well. So that, and other services, some may offer a little capital up front, and then those that offer help with getting your stuff synchronization license in place, like into television, films, commercials, and video games. So if distributors offer at least some assistance with promotion, whether you have to foot the money for the radio promotions or not, offering assistance with some performance rights royalty collections, and helping you getting some sync placement, amongst other things. They may offer some other services to help support their percentage, but that would be the scale that I would look for as a modern day act in a digital age, is for a digital distributor to offer those different variables and to make them compete for your product, because you are a business. You are a business, so you have to treat your product and services as a business, and know that you are a corporate entity, no different than any other large corporate entity like a Pepsi or Coca-Cola. So you have to make them compete for your services and what your products and services that you have to offer. So that would be, I'm not endorsing one distributor over the other, but that's some of the elements that I would look for in a digital distributor as it relates to giving them a master use rights license to distribute my product, if that makes any sense. Next, I would like to touch on the publishing rights, because I think acts, even myself, don't either have the capacity to appreciate what publishing rights are, or they kind of have an idea of what it is, but don't know what it totally encapsulates, or they're just not aware that there's additional rights besides what they give a digital distributor in that regard for capitalization purposes. So when you talk about the publishing rights aspect, you got the performance rights, which is primarily going to be covered through you registering as a songwriter and a publisher through like BMI, ASCAP, SESCA, and those organizations, those PROs, what I would call them, they vary based on jurisdiction. They vary based on where you're located. You could be in Japan, you could be in Thailand, you could be in Africa, you could be in the Middle East, you could be in the UK. There's different PROs that represent those different areas, those geographical areas, so you don't always have to be with just one. And somehow that language should come 360, if that makes any sense, where if you register with one, it eventually, you know, catches up with the other. So there's ways to collect domestically and internationally is what I'm saying, but you have to kind of learn that process as well. So make sure you, whatever performance rights agency that you register with, or wherever you are, to get registered with a performance rights agency, because when your music is being played, you know, say like in a stadium, or it's being played on the radio, let me bag up, not a stadium, more so like a radio, being played on television, being played in a film or something like that, in a commercial, or you know, even from a, I guess from an NBA perspective, if the, you know, if the NBA is playing your stuff in any aspect, you know, they have a license, I guess a bulk license with the performance rights agencies, where they pay a royalty for the usage of sound recordings, if that makes sense. So in order for you to get paid, if people are using your stuff in that commercial manner, you need to be registered as a songwriter and a publisher, or a publisher, so you can, because that's an additional revenue stream, you understand. So you don't want to leave any money on the table as it relates to your business, so you want to collect all possible income sources. So that really covers the performance rights aspect of publishing rights. The second item would be the mechanical rights usage, and a lot of you may see that I post a lot of things about licensing as to my product that I have in the marketplace, and a lot of that is coming through the mechanical licensing process through like music reports, or through BMI, or not BMI, but Harry Fox agency, HOFA, if you will. So they're the ones that you know have these agreements with, like, you know, Amazon and you know, Amazon Music and Pandora and all these different people, and are able, and Google Music, Go Play Music, what have you. So when you get with an organization like that, then you can start getting access to those licenses, and then in turn those organizations start, you know, eventually soliciting your music for licensing purposes. So that'll cover it being in a mechanical usage, on a constant stream player, you know, being able to use it offline, and that's where you get into stuff being played in like restaurants, hotels, you know, elevator music, being on hold on the phone. You know, where did that music come from? It comes through mechanical licensing. And you know, if you're walking through the airport, you know, you may hear music. If you're, you know, at a club, you may hear music. You know, all these different aspects of items that, you know, play your music, they have to get a mechanical license. So in that mechanical licensing process, they will go through like a music reports or a Harry Fox agency, and to acquire that content. So being registered with like a music reports or a Harry Fox is very material to another stream of revenue, another revenue source for your product that you have to offer. And lastly, under the publishing rights, you have the sync licensing, which that basically consists of getting your music placed into television, films, commercials, and video games. And I think that's primarily maybe one of the more complex ones, at least from my experience, is one of the most complex ones, because for the simple fact that unless you're affiliated or in a clique or in the same airspace with people that are doing placement, you're kind of considered an outsider. So when you're trying to get in and get your stuff into, you know, like a video game or a movie soundtrack, it becomes more difficult if you're not already in that clique of persons, in that association circle of persons, versus trying to come in. Sometimes you can have a song that's so good that they have to, you know, deal with you whether you're clicked up or not. But in some cases, you know, it's about who they usually deal with, the association circles they usually deal with, and not necessarily traveling outside those circles. And they do travel outside those circles, so I don't want to misrepresent that. But it's a game of cat and mouse when you think about sync placement. But sync placement is there, and it's a very strong portion of not having to be physically present to perform your music, but it constantly be generating not only viewership but revenue behind the scenes, where, you know, in some cases when you get your stuff sync placed, they'll pay you, you know, some money up front, plus you'll get your residuals, your royalties, if you will, per diem as it's used, as it's played, so to speak. So those are the 4 different aspects, from master rights that you would give to a distributor, to publishing rights, which consist of performance rights, mechanical rights, and sync right. So I just wanted to make sure that I did a very thorough let me see, this is, oh, hi Cambria. This is the mountain view here in Scottsdale, Arizona at 18 degrees. This used to be Over Easy, the spot that was featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives, but they say they bought out Over Easy, and 18 degrees is out here where the ice den is, where the young kids come and practice hockey over here in the ice rink. I guess it's like a subsidiary where the Phoenix Coyotes, the NHL team, practice. So they have that ice facility over there, and then next door to the ice facility is 18 degrees, the restaurant, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm at, just getting a little breakfast and getting this last more comprehensive, I would say, more thorough analysis of what the episode was supposed to be about. So just to, you know, add that context, that last portion, you know, going from that that publishing rights perspective, that in those elements that's under the publishing rights, such as your performance, your mechanical rights, as well as your sync rights. Those are all additional revenue streams that you need to be aware of, and know that those are 4 major revenue sources. And that's in addition to going out and performing, you know, doing live performances, touring, getting, you know, paid to host things, and endorsement deals, and representing brands and stuff like that. Those are all additional revenues, moreover, besides those 4 main sources. But you got to know your 4 main sources to appreciate sources outside of that. So that's my thorough analysis for, you know, the life, Mike, and beyond, as it relates to master rights usage as well as publishing rights usage. So this is your boy, Bishop the Overseer, out.